So I had this thought the other day. If Carl Jung were to be alive today, can you imagine what he would be like if he saw all of the typing systems based on different interpretations of his work? Can you imagine how pissed he would be? Oh, hey, I'm Carl Jung. I don't have a German accent because the maker of this video can't speak in a German accent for crap. Anyways, I just got back from the dead because I'm Carl Jung. Wait. What's this? Oh my god, it's Carl Jung! I can't believe he came back from the dead! Now he's going to save us all from the Backpfeifengesicht. What the fuck did you do to my work? Hey? I devoted my whole life figuring out this stupid-ass brain! And I look around and the humans are pressing buttons on a nuclear contraption and they say they're a 4-letter word! Oh, those are 16 personality types. We just got it from your book on psychological types. My work was never meant for that! What gave you the right to go to my book, pull down your boxer shorts, and rub scheisse all over the cover? Well, I didn't mean to. No, go ahead. Well, there are a bunch of types. And those 16 types have characteristics. Characteristics. And we tried to follow some guidelines on how to improve ourselves. What happened to reconciliation? What happened to individuation? What happened to transcendence? Well, I don't know. Where did it say in your book? Every other fucking chapter! So I've been skimming through Carl Jung's psychological types again the other day, and I was looking back at how much I learned about cognitive functions and personality, etc. And I had this weird feeling that what I'm interpreting from this book is different from what a pretty damn good majority of the type community espouses. And I don't want to be this paragon of knowledge in this subject, nor do I want to be looked at in this way. And so it seems to me that this video will be more introspective, more reflective, filled with more questions than answers, more vagueness than clarity, and hopefully it will spark more conversations in the future. But for now, let me go ahead with my personal soliloquy. First off, the dominant function. The dominant function is the function that we will use the most, the function that we will prefer the most, the function that will be the guiding hand that will lead us to our personal prosperity in society. And in hardship situations, the dominant function will be the function that we run to. This much I have no intention of arguing against. However, in the pursuit of becoming whole, in my eyes, the dominant function will actually get in the way because we will tend to rely on this so much. I saw this interesting quote while reading through chapter 2 of Psychological Types, and it said something along the lines of, by confining our activity to a single sphere, we have handed ourselves over to a master who is not infrequently to end up by suppressing the rest of our capacities. This to me sounds like diverting the attention to the bourgeoisie at the expense of the proletariat. If you think about it that way, dominant seems to be an oddly apt term for this function. And I'm left asking myself, am I willing to cut back or even refrain from using introverted sensing to tend to the rest of my cognitive stack? Are you willing to cut back or even refrain from using your dominant function? This is partially why I intend to refer to functions by their rational/irrational pairs. I'll often refer to my introverted sensing with my introverted thinking, for example. The irrational dominant function will only go so far as to detect an experience, as explained in Chapter 10 on the summaries of extroverted and introverted irrational types. I need the help of my rational function to assign meaning to the things that I experience. If I were to function only using introverted sensing, I would be deemed either sociopathic or enlightened. I am neither, and I have yet to attain enlightenment without the aid of mushrooms, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. So I will use my extroverted feeling and my introverted thinking to gauge my interpretations and draw forth judgments and decisions. By the way, you can never have two irrational functions or two rational functions on the same axis unless one is introverted and the other extroverted. When I look at the cognitive stack of any type, I typically see a list of functions. When I split this list into the introverted and extroverted pairings, I can have a better idea as to how these functions play off of each other. I can see how in certain situations these conscious functions can play around with the unconscious functions. By extension, I can also see an implied conflict relative to my type, and I can infer a path to this reconciliation of self if I really wanted to hone in on my conscious and unconscious functions. With all of this being said, I have a few more questions to consider. Is there a tertiary function? Is there a need for a tertiary function? Is there a need to see our cognitive stack as a hierarchy of functions to abide by? Or can we see this as a guidepost as to which functions that we want to improve? As a pathway to experience life more fully? I thoroughly agree that some functions are harder to access and express than others, and that depends on your cognitive stack. But if we were to look at two people with the same cognitive stack, one will be likely better at using, let's say, extroverted thinking, and the other might be better experienced at using introverted feeling. By the way, I can't figure out extroverted thinking for crap. If I were to use it well, I wouldn't even be aware of it, you know? Anyways, all of these questions sort of run parallel to the one I'm about to make, which is, why even introduce cognitive functions? Why even talk about cognitive functions? Or in that case, why even introduce Keirsey temperaments, or socionics, or Myers-Briggs, or Enneagrams, or the Big Five? I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind talking about this all the time. I mean, I love it. These are really interesting conversation topics, especially if you know someone who's also into this. I mean, who knows? You two might build rapport over this. You might turn that rapport into a friendship, and then sooner or later you're going to be shopping at, I don't know, freaking Sears, or you might have one or two kids. But if you're using personality systems as a way to refine yourself, I would say that you would want to be really careful. Let me explain myself. So let's say that you want to figure out how to get to X, and with the power of technology, you can type the words in the magical search bar, and then millions of results will pop up as to how to get to X. And that's totally fine if X was like how to make funnel cake, or how to tie a cherry stem into a knot with your tongue. But when X is more substantial, like how to achieve financial wealth, or how to attain peace, or how to get over depression, or how to improve yourself, it causes a lot of confusion, because then you also have a million results that show up. So then your next inquiry would be best way to achieve X, or fastest way to achieve X, and then you look up what other people are doing, and then you try to do the same thing. But what I don't hear about enough is that this is an intermediary that emerges between you and the substantial end goal that you are trying to reach. And this is an added karmic tie that says, I am introducing another step in my journey to attain X that I will have to go over. But what tends to happen is that step mistakenly becomes the new end goal when your real goal was not that. When we go back and talk about different personality systems, I fear that these systems became the new intermediaries that became the end goal and not the tools to reach it. With all of this being said, I sort of wanted to at least bring back the paradigm of using these systems only as a tool of self-assessment and leaving it up to you to forge your own path. Given the information that I've proposed and given the information that you've already researched, and if you find whatever system works for you, then it works for you. You know, you have a unique journey, and this is undoubtedly your journey. I will say though that I mentioned 6 personality systems. Now this is really important because 6 represents the amount of sides in the quadrangular prism. When I heard quadrangular, I immediately thought quadratinis. I love quadratinis. I love hazelnut quadratinis. And this is the kicker. This perfectly implies that the ideas of Carl Jung was an indirect precursor to hazelnut quadratinis. And this only leads me to one conclusion. Carl Jung is my dad.